All right, I haven't been driving this vehicle for a while because the catalytic converter's been bad, and I've been through the rigmarole trying to figure out which one to get. So I thought I'd make a quick video on this. Might not be that quick, but a video for you guys who are in the same boat. This is a vehicle that's driven in California, and if you know anything about California, they require specific catalytic converters, and I guess they have different stuff inside of them as well as they have their own numbering system. And we're going to talk about vehicles that are pre-OBD2. So if you have a 1996 or newer vehicle, most of the time those are OBD2 vehicles. Some of them aren't, just very specific ones, typically like diesels and things like some of the diesels might not be. But for the most part, let's just say they're all going to be OBD2. Like newer cars like this have a onboard diagnostic system you can plug in, and it'll tell you basically anything that's wrong. That's what OBD means, onboard diagnostics. So this is considered an OBD1, and the old OBD1 had an onboard diagnostic systems, but you had to like connect a couple of wires together, and then the light would start blinking on the dash, and it would blink like 2 blinks and then 1 blink, and it would tell you the codes that way. The old ones, or the newer cars, actually connect to a computer, which is much easier to diagnose things on. So we're going to talk about only OBD1 cars in this video. So basically there's 2 types of cars that they have. They have a pc1 and a pc2. pc1 means it's a passenger car with single exhaust. pc2 means it's a passenger car with dual exhaust. Then they have trucks. They have T1 and T2 type catalytic converters. So T1 again means single exhaust. For instance, this truck is a T1. It has a single exhaust, and it needs a California approved catalytic converter on it. So, and it has a single catalytic converter. So single catalytic converter means it is a T1. If it's got 2 catalytic converters, it means a T2. That is when it comes to trucks. If it's cars, it'll be pc1, pc2, the same type of thing, but they're different from each other. You can't have a T1 catalytic converter on a passenger car, nor can you have a pc1 on a truck. So typically what the inspector is going to do is this is what they've explained to me. I'm just radiating it to you so that maybe you don't have to go through the whole system of what I did to figure it out. Is that if there's a number on the bottom of the catalytic converter when you order it. If you order one, it has to be a California approved catalytic converter. It has to have a CARB numbering system on it. It has to be identified with that. If you order one and you think that you're going to get one that's a federally approved and not a California approved one, and you go get it illegally out of state or whatever you do, when the inspector goes underneath, he's going to look at the number, and if he sees the number that says it's a federally approved and not a California approved catalytic converter, you're going to have to replace that catalytic converter at whatever the cost is. So there's no shortcuts here, guys. You got to put in the proper one. So if you have an OBD1 vehicle and it's a T1, has a single exhaust and 1 catalytic converter, then as long as when they look up that number, it says that it's approved for a T1 vehicle, it's good to go. So let's say I got a catalytic converter that fits on a Chevy, okay? But it's a T1 Chevy. If it's T1 and it's on a truck and it's on this Ford, as long as they look it up and it says that it is a T1 type converter and it's a California CARB approved converter, this is what they've told me is okay. So what I'm making this for is this is an F Super Duty truck. When I look up part numbers for this truck, they're all for F350s. This is not an F350. This is an F Super Duty. It's heavier than a 350. So when I look them up, they all say excludes 8600 and above. But when I talked to the referee, he explained to me that if it's a T1 converter and it's a T1 truck that it fits on, in other words, it has a single exhaust, not a dual exhaust, and it's a T part number. So when he looks that up, it says it's T1 approved. He says that's fine. So if you're in that same boat, maybe this will help you interpret just the convoluted stuff that's on their website. It is very confusing. When I read it, I saw it was explained in one part of it, but then in another part it says if it has an EO number, they all have to have EO numbers. EO number means that it's California approved, as far as I know. Anyway, this is just basically for your reference. If you want to look this stuff up on your own, maybe this will help you look it up properly. I'm not giving you this to tell you all the rules and tell you how it works or anything else like that, but I'm just trying to tell you what I've been through so that maybe it'll help you get through your own if you have the same problem and you're in the wonderful state of California where they have just way too many rules. Anyway, I'll talk to you on the next video. So if you have a dual exhaust, you can get a T2, two T2 converters, put them on there. As long as they're approved for T2, doesn't matter what year, make, and model for, as long as it says that it's approved for a T2 truck, should be fine. That's what the guys explained to me. If you have a passenger car and you have dual exhaust and you have two pc2 converters on it, should be fine. If they look up the EO number and they see that if it has a EO number on it, it should be fine. And the EO number specifies that it's for T or T2 or T1 or whatever the application you want, then that's all you need. You don't need to go and have the exact one for the year, make, model. As long as it falls into that category. There's only 4 categories: T1, T2, pc1, pc2. And if you have, like I said, if you have dual exhaust, it has to be a number 2 converter. If you have single exhaust, it has to be a number 1 converter. And if it's a passenger car, it has to be a PC approved converter. If it's a truck, it has to be a T approved converter. I hope that makes sense to you. It's very simple, actually. I'll talk to you in the next video. Please like, share, and subscribe.